This time last year, I was on holidays. Every day, I would wake up and spend the entire day gaming. Hours upon hours just wasted. But in the last year, I've done a total 180, and now I only game once or twice every month. Through all of my habits and tactics, there was one that was the core foundation for all of them. The main one that led to me quitting my addiction. The two-state method. Which you can use too. If you've ever played a single video game before, you've used it without even knowing it. Like, think back to the last time you fought a really hard boss in a video game. One that you lost to again and again and again. Now, you may have eventually defeated this boss, but let's say for a moment you didn't. If you didn't defeat the boss, then you wouldn't have been able to progress through the game, and so you would have quit. Why though? Well, you continued to engage the boss time after time, but in this scenario, you never actually learned or gained anything from the encounter. You never actually changed anything, so the result was always the same. No matter how many times you put it into the calculator, 1 plus 1 will always equal 2. If you want it to equal 10, you have to change the method. You've probably experienced this before, and I don't just mean in a video game. A lot of people will build up a streak or be trying really hard to combat their addiction. Then one thing will go wrong. They'll relapse just once. From there, everything will fall apart. Before they realize it, they've just relapsed 7 times in 3 days. The regret feels so bad that they want to change, and the cycle continues. They restart from day 1, mindlessly throwing themselves at the same boss, hoping that something will change. But it won't, unless you change the method. So how do you change the method? Well, this is where the two-state method comes into play. There's 2 states, the 2 states being engage and counter. Engage is where you're engaged. It's all about being locked in and just pushing yourself really hard. You go all out. It's just about doing the thing. Eventually, when the engage is not working, that's when the second state comes into play. Counter. The main purpose of counter is to change, to adapt the way in which you're engaging, to change up your fighting style. To put it into video game terms, say you're fighting a boss, like a massive dragon. Say you brought fire arrows with you and you keep shooting volley after volley, but you lose. The person who only engages would just respawn and shoot fire arrows again. But the person who counters would understand the dragon has resistance to fire and instead comes back with water arrows. That's how you most likely defeated the boss that was really challenging for you. You tried different tactics, skills, and weapons. The thing is though, when it comes to self-improvement, everyone is pretty decent at engaging, but often neglects countering. You can't only engage, you need to change and adapt, learn and grow. That being said, you only want to counter if it will actually make your engage better. If your engage is currently working and you do counter, it might end up constraining you instead. After all, if the water arrows are working, there's no need to change tactics. Say you created this morning routine. If that morning routine currently works and creates the results you want, then there's no reason to counter. It's a lot better to stick with that routine for the next few weeks or months and then reevaluate. If you countered now and changed up your routine, then you might create a routine that doesn't work for you. Then you would have to get back into your old routine again. Over-countering can also become an issue. Just because you know the water arrows work well doesn't mean you only bring water arrows to the dragon fight. If you only brought water arrows, then you wouldn't have a bow to shoot with or a shield to block the fire attacks. Say the earlier you wake up, the better you work. So you increase your wake up time to 5 AM. And you find you're more productive than ever before. So you increase your wake up time to 4 AM. But what if you went further to 3 AM? What about 2 AM? At some point, the countering stops benefiting you. You've over-countered to the point where you're doing more damage than good. Same with only bringing water arrows to the dragon fight. Now you can use this engage and counter method for literally anything. The main thing I've used it on in the past is routines and addictions. Generally speaking, you want to engage for a few weeks or months and then counter, and then go back to engaging again. Over time, as you continue to do this, you're constantly refining whatever it is you're using this method on. In a way, it's like upgrading armor in a video game. After each counter, the armor gets improved a little bit more and is better for protecting against the latest enemies, or in this case, the latest constraints. It does also work to counter in small amounts. Change or tweak one thing here or there at a time. This way you can see the impact it has and whether it's a change you want to keep. To begin with, there will generally be more countering as you figure out what works well and what doesn't for you. Over time, as you improve and refine, you'll need countering less and less. So don't forget, 1. Both countering and engaging are two different parts of the same equation. You need both. 2. Remember not to counter when it's not necessary. Only counter in small amounts, or counter when you see big constraints on the engaging end. And 3. Don't over-counter. And that's it. That's the entire two-state method. Keep your sword sharp. Bye-bye.